What is going on, everybody? It is Luke Bella with the Sideline Scoop. And in today's video, I'm going to break down the potential matchups for the Green Bay Packers coming into the divisional round. Because with us getting the 1 seed, there's 6 other teams in the NFC right now. And so I'm going to go through the potential matchups for the Packers, after this wild card weekend coming into the divisional round. And so there are going to be 4 teams that the Packers could potentially face, depending on how these 3 NFC games go. So I want to break down, which teams it could be and sort of my thoughts on the potential playoff matchup for the Green Bay Packers. But right before I get into today's video, I just wanted to say that we are 2 notification members away from reaching 600 of you guys who have the notifications turned on. We hit 500 last week after I told you guys about it. You guys came through, subscribed, turned on your notifications. So if you have yet to turn your notifications, that'll be awesome if you would. You just get videos right away sent straight to your phone. So let's see if we can get to 600. We only need 2 of you guys to do it. I believe it can happen. So now into the video. So I'm coming in right here to this site called Playoff Predictors. I used this for my video sort of predicting the entire NFL playoffs. I'll put that down in the description down below if you've yet to see it. So here's the first scenario that could happen. So taking a look at these games right here, as you can see for the NFC, what sort of happens is the Packers will play the team that had the worst seeded team who comes out of these 3 games. So let's say the Chicago Bears were to beat the New Orleans Saints, which I don't necessarily think will happen. Obviously it could happen. So if the Saints were, or not the Saints, if the Bears were to win this one, we would face the Chicago Bears. So that's the first team, as you can see here, as I simulated this. We would face the Chicago Bears if they happen to beat the Saints. And so if we were to face the Bears, I think this shouldn't be too tough of a matchup for the Packers. I think it's probably the easiest matchup for the Packers. If it were to happen, we just beat the Bears 35-16 in week 17 of the season. We sort of saw what the Bears did against the Packers. And honestly, at times, the Bears did look pretty good at times. The defense got the job done a few times, but definitely not enough. The Packers still put up 35 points against that Bears defense. And Mitch Trubisky had an all-right game, wasn't amazing, threw 1 interception, had 0 touchdowns. And so I just don't see the Bears being able to come into the playoffs in Lambeau Field and beat the Green Bay Packers personally. So that's the first scenario. Now let me go back to the second potential scenario. I can just go back right here on my computer to change this simulation up a bit. And so as that's loading. What's going on, dude? So now the second scenario that could potentially happen. Let's say the Saints beat the Bears. Then let's say the Saints beat the Bears, and then let's say the Rams were to beat the Seahawks. Because obviously with Bears being 7th, if the Bears were to win this and the Rams also win, we would still face the Bears. But if the Rams were to beat the Seahawks and the Bears were to lose to the Saints, we would face the Rams in the next round. So this is what it would look like: Packers versus Rams. So coming up against a Rams team that was all right, was pretty good this season, 10-6 on the season. But for them obviously to make this playoff game with the Packers, the Rams would have to beat the Seahawks. Personally, I see the Seahawks winning that one, but you never know what could happen. Taking a look at the Rams offense this season, 23rd in the NFL when it comes to points per game, but their biggest strong suit is obviously their defense. They're number 1 when it comes to points allowed, allowing only 18.5 points per game. They got Aaron Donald, they got Jalen Ramsey. They have a really, really good defense. And so sort of thinking about that potential matchup for the Packers, I think that with the Packers defense improving over the final weeks of the season, holding the Titans to 14 points, the Bears to 16 points, going up a Rams team that is 23rd when it comes to points per game, I feel like the Packers would be able to, hold that Rams offense pretty much in check. And with Aaron Rodgers, as good as he's been, even though the Rams do have a great defense, I still think Aaron Rodgers is going to put up more points than the Rams, just because most games we see the Packers put up so many points, and for other teams to stay in that, they have to also be able to put up that amount of points. And so personally, I just feel like the Packers would be heavily favored in that game against the Rams. I think for the Rams to win that one, obviously their defense would just need to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers, which they definitely could with Aaron Donald on that team, but I just don't know if it would be enough. But this Rams team, even though they may not be one of the best teams in the NFL, they haven't lost a game by more than 11 points, and they did split their 2 season games with the Seahawks 1-1. So I still think the Rams could beat the Seahawks. I did pick the Seahawks to win that game in my playoff prediction video, but that's sort of the second team the Packers could face. And now for the third potential team the Packers could play. So let's say the Saints beat the Bears and the Seahawks beat the Rams, which I feel like is most likely, but of course, you never know. Then let's say the Buccaneers were to beat the Washington football team. That would put the Buccaneers right here, as you can see, as a 5 seed. And so because they are, the worst seed left remaining right here in this situation, we would end up facing the Buccaneers in that first divisional playoff game. And honestly, I think this would be the best game just as like a football fan in general. Just because to be able to watch Tom Brady face off against Aaron Rodgers, both of them in the later parts of their career, it would just be a classic game. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady have only been able to face each other twice in their entire career. They both split the games. They each got a win when they did play each other. Because with Brady being on the Patriots for so long in the AFC, they never really, got to play each other. So now with Brady going to the Bucs in the NFC, I think it would be just a great matchup to watch as a football fan. As a Packers fan, personally, I would rather us not face the Bucs. They were the one team that really shut down Aaron Rodgers and shut down that Packers team overall, beating us, way earlier in the season. And so just with a player like Tom Brady, who has so much experience in the playoffs, you just rather not see a guy like that. And I do think the Packers could still obviously beat this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. I would rather not see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now for the final potential playoff team that the Packers could face, if it's not the Bears, the Rams, or the Buccaneers, it would be the Washington football team. So as you can see here, they would be the final remaining seed if this were to happen. There's no possible way for us to face the Saints or the Seahawks in the divisional rounds. There's just 4 teams: Bears, Rams, Buccaneers, and then the Washington football team. And so sort of thinking about a matchup versus the Washington football team, we have a Washington offense that's just not very good. I wrote some stats down here that, could be helpful. They're 25th in points per game, but they do have the 4th best scoring D. So their strength is definitely their defense. They have a lot of guys who can bring pressure to the quarterback, like Chase Young. And that's why I'm sort of curious to see if the football team can bring enough pressure against Brady to cause some problems. Because for the football team to win that one against the Buccaneers, I think their only hope is to, of course, rattle Brady, shake him up, sort of force him to try to leave the pocket, which probably won't work for him leaving the pocket because he's old and he can't really run very fast. So I think that's the only hope for the Washington football team. We'll see what happens. But with the Packers potentially facing them, I just think that Rodgers would score way more points than the Washington football team, just because 25th when it comes to points per game. Their only hope would be to potentially hold the Packers offense in check, which is very tough. And then they need Alex Smith to come out there and put up points, which, Alex Smith has been okay this season, pretty good, but I don't think he can keep up and sort of stay in a game with Aaron Rodgers. And I think a team like the Buccaneers is one of the teams that could stay with the Packers just because they have so many talented players on the offensive side of the ball with Tom Brady. They're sort of able to keep up with the Packers if they do put up a lot of points. But some of these other teams, if the Packers put up a lot of points, it'll be a lot tougher, like the Rams, like probably the football team. I think it would be a lot tougher for them to, stay in the game with the Packers if the Packers put up lots of points. But those are the potential 4 playoff matchups for the division round for the Green Bay Packers. So that's going to be all for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you subscribe to the channel down below. I put out videos like this every single day, so make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.